Dun, dun. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. If you're here, let me know if you're here. Say hello. This is going to be kind of an informal kind of chat about those things that are on the thumbnail, but also there's going to be a big announcement as well. So I'm hoping that lands well. It's something that I hesitated with. I did have this scheduled up before, and then I had some bad news, so I felt like I couldn't do a solo live stream that night, so I moved it. But also, I was a bit nervous about the announcement side of it, so we'll see what happens. But that's the plan. The kind of the big intent of this, and which kind of led me to getting to the announcement, is bouncing off something I was doing at work. So you may know that I'm a music teacher, and part of what they do in their course in the second year, they have to look at what the industry is like now and how it works. And it works differently to how it used to work. And that kind of presents new challenges, but also it's a different approach to earning money as a musician. And that is also completely echoed in my experience as a writer as well. I was going to get my books as well, part of this, and I've just now I realize I haven't done that, haven't prepared properly. I'll get there in a minute. But yeah, where's that as well? Where's that gone? Oh, it doesn't matter. So because those things tied together, they tied quite well with this new project I'm going to start, if that's the right way of saying it. I'm not sure if that's the right way of saying it, but I'll get there eventually. But basically, I wanted to talk about the way that the independent artists, which would include authors as well, and can earn money, and this sort of crowdfunding aspect of it, because there's lots of ways that I've got a message clearly from one of my students. Hi, Harry. Nice to see you. It would be part of your grade next year, but not watching this, but doing something like this. But I'm honing in on a very specific thing here because it leads me to my announcement at the end. But does the sound all right, by the way? Is the sound coming out all right? I've guessed the level of mic volume. I haven't tested this properly, so hopefully it's okay and the echo isn't too strong. Let me know if it sounds okay. Yeah, so this crowdfunding thing is a new thing, and it would bypass, thank you, Harry, it bypasses publishers if you're an author, and you can just publish things yourself using digital publishers like Amazon, which is what I've done with my books. And also, obviously, you can publish your own, you can make your own music and publish it independently, make CDs yourself. You've been able to do that for years. But now, Spotify, you can put your stuff on Spotify as well, without much hassle, without much cost, and it's out there. And because that's probably the main way people listen to music now, which is a problem I'll get onto in a second, because of that, you are literally putting your music out there in the biggest platform you could. And it's really easy. And that obviously can bypass record companies as well. You do need record companies to fund a very serious career. If you want to go out on tour, or you want like good marketing, or you want to network with proper people, then you will need to do that. But there are people that are getting away with doing well on social media, or being fully independent, making a living out of it, or getting signed up after they've got somewhere independently. I think that's someone else that I think that's Lottie that I taught earlier as well. They're probably together, don't know. So yeah, those are kind of things I wanted to touch on. So if I can get my notes, I'm going to go in a more organized way than I normally would be when I'm just, oh, Gavin's here. Hi, Gavin. Just popping in before I nip out for some errands. What? Errands? At 9:10 at night? Down with Spotify. Well, exactly. Spotify has been damaging the industry like mad, which I'll get onto in a second. There's so many things that are bad about Spotify, but ultimately all of those things are counteracted by the convenience and cheapness of it for the customer. Customers love it, and the artists and the industry that's trying to keep going while it's dominating consumer activity, they don't like it, but the customers love it because it's really, 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 really cheap. One of my students complained recently that it was really expensive, and I'm not sure that they realized they're getting like over 1 million songs for something like 15 quid a month. It's absolutely insane. Like I tried to explain to them, if that was a fast food restaurant, then they'd be getting 1,000 burgers for nothing, and none of the staff are getting paid, and they couldn't really have that job. They'd be volunteers. And if we had a world where all musicians were volunteers and they were all doing it for fun, then there'd be a lot less musicians and there'd be a lot less songwriters. I wouldn't say that wouldn't be any, but the quality would go down. The motivation for doing it would go down. The whole thing would collapse. So, which is why copyright is so important, because I know, Gavin, if you're still there, you were a little bit irritated by the copyright rules in your video about public domain, which I get, but I do think without that, then you've got a massive problem with no new creativity happening, because people aren't initially necessarily going to be doing it for the money, but if they can earn a living out of being an artist, then obviously that's a big draw. So let's go to my notes. So I'm going to talk about what this new business model is and how Spotify fits in, how physical media fits in, and talk about the live streams I did during COVID as well, because that's kind of relevant to this thing about earning money. And then I'm going to talk about my output as a writer and why I see myself as a writer, because I've been writing for over 30 years in different ways, and some of the things that kind of are connected to that money-wise. And then I'm going to do my big announcement. Oh, and I'm going to talk about AI for a bit, and then I'm going to do my announcement. Okay, so that's the plan. I can see there's a few more people in the chat, so please say hello if you're there. I'd love to know who it is. Another bit of tea. So, yeah, the business model before in the music industry, and remember, the reason why I'm saying this is that my decision to do this new announcement and this new plan is really based on the old and new models of the music industry, not so much the writing novelist kind of thing, but music industry, because I understand that better, and it's what my experience has been in. But the old model was that you try and get signed by a record company, they'd throw loads of money at you, you would hopefully have some level of success, and you'd pay back the debt that would be owed to you through the payment of the recordings and the music videos and the publicity and all that sort of stuff. And then you'd end up, you and the record company, earning money out of these recordings that we made and bought in record shops and the tours. And that's been changed a lot over the years. So physical media has not been bought as much. It's still being bought. Thankfully, record shops still exist, but they're not being bought in the same way they were. So they're not dominating the industry. They're not where the big income is coming from. Now the income is coming from live shows. And because the weight of the income is coming from live shows, live tours, ticket sales and all that, that's why ticket sales have gone up, and it's why ticket prices have gone up, and why merch prices have gone up as well, because that's where they get their money, because Spotify has made other ways of getting their money so much harder, because you would get a percentage of the amount of units sold. And if you look at comparisons, some people do comparisons online, it's shocking really how few CDs or LPs you needed to sell before you had a decent income, and now you have to have billions and billions of streams of Spotify plays for you to get anything like an income that you can live on. So you have to get it other ways as well. So which is why performing live is such an important part of it. But also, it's also why passive income from having a successful song or piece of music is also really good and important, and can be that bedrock that helps you to survive in an industry that's changed so much, right? So I am lucky that I do get royalties sometimes for my songs, and sometimes it's a substantial amount of money, which is great. Sometimes it's little bits of money, but when it's a big sizable chunk, it's awesome, because obviously, regardless of what it does for our finances, it obviously makes you very happy to have earned something from being a writer, which is what I'm trying to get at with this, that I do define myself as a writer. So yeah, physical media has gone down in popularity, and it used to earn people a wage, and now you can't earn a wage from that. According to my notes, this is when I thought of mentioning the live streams I did during COVID. So during 2020 especially, when I think it was the year after the lockdown, or it might have been during the lockdown. Yeah, no, it had to be during the lockdown. Yeah, because I could only do this with my son, because he was living here at the time. I couldn't get anyone else from the band to do it with me. So me and him did live streams on Facebook. We did like 2-hour gigs from my front room. And sadly, they disappeared because my Facebook account was hacked. I lost them all, which is really, really annoying, because there was so much in there. I've got a question. I'll finish what I was just saying about the thing. So me and him did these live streams, and it was really good, because we had on this wall behind me, I did a massive sign with the PayPal account on it. And I said to the audience, if you want to pay anything to the PayPal account as a tip for the performance, then it just goes to Louis, because he's about to go to uni. So it helps his uni fund. And we genuinely got over £1,000 just in that summer from those shows. So it was really good. It was something you could definitely use as an example of an artist earning money from performing. And it's very direct, because you were literally saying to the audience who's watching it, just enjoy it if you want, or if you want to tip the performers, go for it. And over a series of weeks and weeks, we did it every 10 days, pretty much. Sometimes did an extra one, but most of it was every 10 days. We got a load of money out of it. And it was good for him, because I just gave it to him, and he had that little blanket for the uni experience that he had, because he went to Brighton to study guitar. So that was in 2020. And that kind of is wrapped up in this, because that's kind of an example of the new model, where artists are expected to make their own money in some quarters, in some elements of the industry. There are still record labels, and there are still the old model still exists, but there is this new understanding that to ask for money from the audience is not weird. Remember that, because I'm going to get to that in a minute. So Tim's book retreat. Hold on, let's get him up on the screen. Hello, Gareth. Who's setting the ticket prices, venue or artist? It could be the promoter. So I know that bands like Pearl Jam complain about Ticketmaster's attitude to pricing, so it could be them. The artists don't very often do it. They do, but I think it's usually who they're working with, and they'll negotiate with the venue. Even on a small scale, when I do my own gigs that I run for Bemis, I negotiate with the main venue that I use in Portsmouth, because he always wants to put the price higher than what I want it, because I just want bums on seats. I'm not worried about the amount of money I get, but he says it's got to be a certain level to look respectable, kind of thing. And and he's like, I'm not putting that out. It's got to be this price and all that. And I'm like, okay. So the venue, that's a small scale version of what would happen at a big scale as well. So the venue would definitely have an influence, and the artists will have an influence, but the promoters do as well. So there's a whole mix of things. But the big point is that ticket prices have gone up because all those different people that are involved, all those people that are deciding on the price, who are setting the price, all those people are getting less money from the old model of physical media. They're not getting the same amount of money they used to get. So because of that, they would see the justification in whacking up an extra 40 quid for a ticket price, or making an extra 100 quid from the ticket price, because they're saying this tour is what's keeping this artist going. So I can see the justification, but it's a real shame because, as Gavin was saying earlier, Spotify has its massive faults, and it's such a shame that it dominates so much because the quality of the sound isn't great. It's driven people away from the beauty of physical media, like the CD covers and the inlay card on a CD, or the dust jacket and sleeve notes you get on an LP. The experience of putting it on your player is a very different thing from just randomly sticking it on your phone or making a playlist. Having the sequencing of an album has been lost to some people, to some younger listeners. They probably don't even think about the sequencing of an album, and that's really important for someone making an album. So all those kind of things, I think, are part of the shame of it, not just the fact that it's flipped where people get their income from. So yeah, I do think that's a thing as well. Nicole says hi. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for being here. Yeah, the thing that I was trying to create as a first point is that now you've got these different ways, the different norms of earning money. So there's been independent artists and people making their own records since the late 70s. So that's not a big deal as much. And there's been independent record labels since the 50s. So that's not a thing necessarily, or since the 40s. But it's the fact that they are now dominating the industry, and they're now flipping what people would see as a normal thing. And record companies aren't seen as the big goal for getting somewhere. And people do believe you can literally just get your music out there to billions of people through social media. There is some truth to that, but the ones that really hit it big are the exceptions, really. One of the problems with what the internet's done is that artists are now small fish in an enormous pool because everybody's doing it, and it's not special anymore. So even it's not that special if you're brilliant, because you don't necessarily get heard because you're amongst this enormous pool of people. So in the old days, the record company would be pushing what you did, and now there's people trying to avoid record companies, so they're trying to push themselves. And if you're an adult, and none of these people that be trying to push their art will be children. If they're adults, they've also got a job. They might have a family, and they've got to be on social media all day, trying to different platforms of social media, trying to push their music to make sure people get to hear it. It's crazy. It's an unmanageable expectation, which is why this new business model doesn't really work. So I do think we're in a moment of transition, but I do think it's important to embrace the new acceptance that people can ask for money from their audience and develop their audience through that kind of relationship, but also understand that the big guys are still around, and they're going to pick people up who are getting somewhere on social media. So Harry says, as someone who's getting into physical media and who owns a couple of LPs, physical media is so much cooler than Spotify. Absolutely. That's great. Yeah. So you're 16 and you're getting into physical media, which is brilliant. And record shops are still going. When we had a 2-floor HMV in the main commercial road, and then at the same time as we had a smaller one in Gunwharf. We lost the one in Gunwharf, and we also lost the big 2-floor one that I used to work at in Commercial Road. And when that went, I was gutted, because I thought, regardless of what you think about big chains, that's terrible that we've lost those 2 record shops. And then it reappeared again, and it reappeared as a kind of a Christmas thing. And there was a rumor that it was only around for Christmas, and then it's stuck around. It's still there now. It's brilliant. And you can see all the vinyl shelves are being increased, and there's loads of vinyl there. There's loads of, like, when you first go in, there's loads of manga on the left, and there's loads of in the back left corner. There's loads of record players, and the technical side of the industry. So you'll have like expensive headphones as well, and you have all sorts of tech stuff, which is great. And you've got all the other different media. You've got around the walls, you've got the CDs and the T-shirts and all that, which is great. So so that kind of thing is quite an important part of music consumption, I think. And then you've got a 16-year-old there saying that he's really loving the physical media thing, which is great. Hello, MJ. Nice to see you. Okay, so Angie loves. Oh, Angie, I think that's Angie. Would there be a loss in profit if a concert were to do like live streams for people who are unable to access concerts? Would there be a loss in profit? Yes, I don't think you could charge the same amount for doing a kind of an online studio-based performance. Although during COVID, some of my favorite musicians did regular live streams from their house, and they got, again, with that sort of PayPal idea, they got loads of money out of it. And because they were bigger artists, they got tons and tons of money out of it. So I don't think you could replace gigs with it, but you could definitely do that as well. And there's a friend of mine whose only income is gigs, and he ever since 2020, so he's been doing it for 6 years now, once a week. It used to be twice a week during COVID, but once a week he does a live gig from his garden shed, and I know he gets loads of money for that, and he's not going to stop doing that because it's another part of his income. So those things, that's another thing that's changed. COVID gave us some bad stuff and some negative. As far as this goes, obviously lots of bad stuff, but one of the things that it did do was it settled people into a mindset of staying at home and not going out. So that did affect the live industry, definitely. It's slowly come back to people's habits, but there are people who've just taken that out of their habits, and they've forgotten how good it feels to listen to live music, genuinely. I've heard people who've had a gap and then go back and they go, why have I stopped doing this? It's amazing. And it is a very unique experience, I think, going to a live concert, live gig. I'd say going to a live show in a theatre's unique as well. They're both very unique situations, experiences, but they are very in the moment. They're things that make you feel alive. They are things that matter, that if you sat at home and watched TV, you would definitely get entertained and you could get enlightened, educated, or whatever as well. But it's not changing your life in the same way as being in a room with these people that are sharing this experience with you and having an experience like that. This is an extreme example, but when I saw Kate Bush after her 32-year gap, and she played those shows in London, people say, what's your favorite gig? I can't describe it as a gig because it was a gig. It was absolutely a gig, but it was also something you cannot explain, because if you've grown up listening to this woman's work and had this adoration of her, and all of the times you've known her music and what she's done, you've been waiting for an album, but you never in a million years thought that you'd see her live. And then she's there in the same room, and every single person that's in that room is feeling the same thing, of this crazy, heightened, unusual experience. That's power. You can feel it. It's palpable. It's not the same as being at home watching on TV. It just isn't. There's no comparison. So, TV is thriving because of streaming services, and TV streaming services are also damaging the movie industry. That's another thing. But the point is, COVID did make people feel differently about going out. But the good thing that it did do as well, that COVID did do, was it established a norm for people to do a concert from either their studio or from a rehearsal room or from their front room. The guy that I used to watch regularly, Rob Fetters from the Bears and the Psychodots, he did it from this sort of music room he's got, where he's got all his equipment, and he used to sort of do it on his own, but he had loads of backing tracks recorded for each session, so it was like a live band thing, but he was playing a lot of the instruments himself, and it was live. It was new for that recording, for that performance. So it was a great way of doing it. He did loads of his old hits, and he did stuff from 40 years ago, you know, and it was great. So that was new, and COVID gave you that. So, you know, that was a good thing. And that ties with this idea of crowdfunding as well. This idea that you can go on Kickstarter and say, I want to make a new album. Who's up for giving me some money for a new album? Which is the thing that is the obvious avoidance of a record company. It doesn't always work. One of the things that me and the students talk about is that really can't be successful unless you've got an audience to actually send you money. So if you're starting out and you've got a small following, you're not going to be able to crowdfund like that. Although there is an example of a local band who I know have had success with Kickstarter, because they have just been noticed by a few really good festivals, and they've got a big audience very quickly, and they are very, very good. But I think they're an exception. I think it's not, I don't think you can expect to get that kind of treatment. But again, that's a new thing that you can do. So going back to that first point about me being a writer, have I put all the things? Yeah, that was Andy's comment. So why is it so important that this new thing I'm going to announce, this new project, is all writer-based? Why do I think I'm a writer? Okay, so my first writing was done as a student in the college I now teach at. I used to be a student there back in 1988 and 1989. And 1990, I was there for 3 years, or about 2.5 years. So from 1988 to some point in 1990, I was there, and I wrote poems. I also started to learn to play the guitar and started writing songs and started performing there as well. But my first thing was poetry, and I started writing that, and I contributed to a student magazine at the time that was called Monkeys on a Typewriter. And it was a really interesting, enlightening experience for me, because I was studying English anyway, but I also really loved language. I loved words, so I liked playing with them a bit. I don't like purple poetry. I don't like playing with words for the sake of it, but I liked to try and find interesting phrases and interesting ways of saying something that I felt was deep. So that was a thing. I started off as a poet, but pretty soon after that, I started writing songs, because I've always been a singer. I've been singing since I was a little boy, so I've always been singing. So writing songs was a natural development of learning to play guitar, already writing poetry. I was writing songs. So by the time I'd left college, I was gigging regularly. Okay, that's interesting. So someone's just written Emily. You have to explain what that means. Oh, hi, Emily. Hi, Emily? I can't see an Emily. Hello. So that was my first thing. And I've been writing songs since then. So since 1989, really, was when I first started writing songs. Since then, I've been writing songs, and I've written hundreds and hundreds. And some songs, people tell me they're some of their favorite songs. I regularly get money for those songs that I wrote 20 years ago. And they're a huge part of my life. And I'm never going to stop playing those songs. And there are some songs I've played thousands of times. So Brilliant Fire, Jigsaw Song, People Live On. Those three in particular, I think those are probably the most played ones. I'm trying to think. Not Enough to Know, maybe. I mean, it's getting like that for DNA. I've sang DNA so many times, but definitely those other ones that are older, I have definitely played those songs thousands of times, definitely. And with Brilliant Fire, which is my love, one of the love songs I wrote for my wife, I have periods where I'll go off. I'll go off the song for a bit, and it doesn't mean as much once I've played it that many times, and I'll switch off and I'll just do it, and then a couple of gigs later or a couple of months later or whenever it happens, it suddenly comes alive again and you're getting really emotional while you're singing it. It's a really fun experience having the same song you play to death over and over again over the years. And that's true for some covers, but for the songs you write yourself, you also change as a person. So you don't feel the same way. There's one song that's off the new album, but we wrote it years ago. We've got a new album coming out next year, but we've decided to bring out a song that we never recorded that we really like, and it's called "When You're Not Around." And I wouldn't write those words now. I'd write the same sentiment, but I'd write it very differently. So there's some of the lines in it, and I'm like, really? But I wrote those words, so it is a bit funny that you also change as a person when these songs are around for this length of time, you know. But yeah, so just to kind of cover what I'm saying here, that I have always seen myself as a songwriter first, as far as my writing goes, and it's dominated my life. You know, I've been writing songs for a long time, since I was a teenager, and I'm now 54. So, and my last song I wrote, it gives me goosebumps singing it. I feel so strongly about it. I feel very passionately about it. And it's a song about not giving up on the political situation and about how things change slowly. And you've got to believe that things will change. And the only way you can really believe that is if you look at history and know that things were worse. It's just gutting that it takes so long. That's kind of the point of that song. But when I sing it, I love singing it. I love hearing it with the full band, but that's a new song. So just, you know, at my ripe old age, I still feel something from the words that I write and from the songs that I write. So there's that. And then, and actually, when was this? Sometime in the early 2000s. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I got married in 93. I think both my kids were born by the time I started doing this. So early 2000s, I started writing my first attempt at writing a book. It was a comedy thing, like I like doing. It was called Sorcerers Aplenty, and it was a very silly fantasy thing. And I wrote about 80 pages, and then I just completely lost heart in it. I lost some of them, and that was it. I lost some of the pages because I was typing on a typewriter, which is kind of mad, isn't it? But I lost the pages, and I just gave up. And there were some things about I remember I really liked, and I thought it was, and I played it. I gave the pile of paper to a friend and said, "Can you read that and tell me what you think?" And I was watching them laugh, and they were like, "I'm really enjoying this. It's great." And I got the sort of validation that I could have kept going. But losing those pages was enough to make me just get rid of it and just think, oh, forget it. And that was early 2000s. And then I started reading properly again, I don't know, about 12 years ago. Would that be? Something like that. In a more purposeful way. I'd read more regularly, and I'd pick what I'm reading, and I became a proper reader again, because there was a gap. So I was a reader when I was a teenager, but it kind of got engulfed in non-fiction when I was doing my degree. So anyway, I started reading a lot, and then once I started reading a lot, I started getting these ideas for stories, and then I decided to write a story. So I wrote the first story that's in my short story collection, and I feel like I should get the books. I'm going to get the books. Hold on a minute. And I need some tea. Don't go away. Oops. And also don't spill your tea everywhere from knocking the table. Well, that's amazing. So I leave the camera and I get more people watching. So I should just leave and just leave it running for an hour, shouldn't I? Okay. So it doesn't matter as much if I knock the thing because I've moved the tea. So this was the collection I was talking about, 10 Tales of Transformation. So I wrote the first story, and the first story was hold on. When did this come out? Hold on. This was 2018 when I published this. The Endless Challenge of Time Management. The Endless Challenge of Time Management was the first story I wrote for this, and basically it's a relatively short story, one of the shortest ones in the book, and I was really excited about it. I was really pleased with it, and I wanted to show it off. So I sent it to a few friends and said, "What do you think?" And they really liked it, and I was like, "Oh, I could write another one." So I kind of let my brain open up for maybe sort of taking ideas seriously if I had them. And then over a period of, 6 months, I started writing these other stories. And then by the time it got to the last story I wrote for this, which was No Sleep Till Corsilia, which is my first story about the Brown Yelp Gang. That was 12,000 words. It was the biggest story in the book. And by this point, my friend had told me about self-publishing. And I thought, well, I can actually do something with these stories as well. Because for me, the reason why I'm self-publishing really is that if I wrote the stories and then they just sort of sat there and I was waiting for someone to pick them up for an agent and then a publisher, and they were sitting there, I don't think I'd write them because I would expect them to just be sitting there forever. No one would ever read them. So self-publishing allows me to actually feel like there's some purpose behind it. So I do think you're kind of in a sea, like I was saying about Spotify, you're in a sea of millions of other people that can write stuff and put it out freely without anyone editing it or whatever. So I do think that's an issue, and that probably means that you're not actually going to get seen. But this first book was a product of this huge wave of self-belief and my excitement over writing these stories. And they're very different stories. There's 10 stories in it, and I do think it's worth reading. I think it's a lot of fun. And some of it makes you think, but some of it is just designed to make you laugh, right? So anyway, I did that. And once I'd done that, I wanted to try and be a bit more ambitious. So I thought, I've written my 10 stories for 10 Tales of Transformation. Let's try and write a novel. And I wrote Out Among the Ice Beacons. So Out Among the Ice Beacons was going to be a time travel story because I love time travel. I was going to do a story about 3 teenage boys from this area of England. They were going to be proper Larry Gits, and they were going to go back in time to the medieval period, which I always find fascinating. So that was my plan. And in the end, I went off the idea, and I thought it'd be more fun to put them in a situation where they end up with a similar device, thanks to one of the characters' dads, who was a mad scientist, and they apprehend his machine, get it working again, and they end up on another planet. And because on another planet, kind of like an ice planet, covered in snow, with the dominant species on the planet living underground. So because they're on that planet, this species that is like the natural species of the planet, they have a very serious religious belief that there's no other life on any other planets. So the boys literally threaten the status quo. So that kind of becomes the plot of the book. They get into some hot water with some of the authorities while trying to get home. So I really enjoyed writing it, and I gave myself a goal to write a certain amount of words every night. And if I didn't make that goal, so I wanted to do 3,000 words a night. And if one night I just couldn't do it and I did 2,000, I'd try and do 4,000 the next night. So I tried to make sure that was like the average. And I kept it up pretty well. And it only took me a few months to write it. And I'm really pleased with that. So that was the first novel I wrote. And again, I used the same self-publishing technique to get it out there so people can read it. And then after that, I wrote my first, or published my, because this isn't my first lot of poems, but I published my first poetry book, Permanent Verb. And Permanent Verb is based on a poem called Permanent Verb, which is kind of funny because I wrote the poem about me always doing stuff, not really realizing that I was kind of writing about ADHD, really. So I haven't had it diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I've got it. And Permanent Verb is about that side of it anyway. And they're quite personal, these poems. So there's lots of mental health stuff in there, but it covers lots of different things. So I was really pleased with writing this poetry collection, and the cover is done by my daughter. This is a very cool cover. So Permanent Verb happened, and then I think by then I was working on the Brown Yelp Gang, which is my biggest achievement as a writer. It's the biggest thing I've written. It's the most complete thing I've written, and it's the thing that I would read myself. I need to read it again anyway because I want to write the sequel, but I haven't got around to that yet. But I know that it would make me laugh. When I've read bits of it, I've really enjoyed reading it. And it's about this band here that are made up of different species of alien, and they get involved in with a couple of gangsters. One particularly dangerous one who wants to rule the galaxy or whatever. So it's a light-hearted romp with lots of jokes based around the music experiences I've had over the years. And maybe some sci-fi based jokes, but a lot of it is music based jokes. But it's obviously a science fiction setting. So yeah, the Brown Yelp Gang, really enjoyed writing it, and I love the fact it's out there, and some people who have read it have enjoyed it. So that was a thing. And then I wrote this, which I felt was quite an ambitious project for poetry, which was called Voices in the City. And the idea was that each poem is a different person who lives in this fictitious city, and as a book, it paints the inhabitants of the whole city, kind of thing, or not a whole city, but the inhabitants of the city. So Voices in the City was my idea of doing that as a project, and I deliberately was thinking, okay, I need a middle-aged man. Where am I going to put him? What's the poem going to be about? Okay, there's one, probably my favorite one in the collection is about a female immigrant on a bus and everyone's staring at her. So there's a poem about that. So, I was just picking moments that I noticed in the city. And while I was writing, I had my radar up. I was looking around and sort of profiling people going, oh yeah, that would be a good poem, that kind of thing. So yeah, Voice of the City was a very specific intention behind that one. And then the other thing is my book of lyrics. So Head First is called, which is based on a song that I wrote with Richie, but I wrote the words, called Head First, which I'm currently trying to learn the lyrics for because I want to gig with it. It's one of our best songs, I think, and I can't wait to show Head First off to everyone because it's a cracker. So yeah, the book of lyrics, I sell those at the shows. I do sell some of the novels at the Beamish gigs, but I don't often put those out anyway. But yeah, they do sometimes sell, but we do sell CDs at the gigs. Hi, Julie. Hello, Gareth. It must be very satisfying to be so creative and talented. What with playing music, songwriting, writing poems, short stories, novels. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though, that I'm going to get to the point where it isn't satisfying in a second because it leads me to my announcement. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. And I am proud of what I've achieved. I'm proud of these things here. And I'm proud of the band. I'm proud of our albums. We're going to have our 10th album out next year. And I'm proud of the songs. And they are on Spotify. And if you go on Bandcamp, you can buy my solo album, which is the most popular of my songs performed by myself. That's called Replay. You can buy that and I get the money. So I'm proud of that as well. I'm proud of the fact I did that. So I am proud of these things, but in the last couple of years, I've had massive imposter syndrome. And I felt like I was kidding myself. I don't really feel like that as a songwriter, but I felt like that as a prose and poetry writer. And I think it's a funny thing because like I was saying that the self-publishing thing is good because I know that they're available out there for people to read. And it means that it means I do it, because if I thought that they'd be sitting there for years while I try and get an agent or whatever, I don't think I'd write them. So that's great. But the self-publishing road also means you haven't got the validation and legitimacy you'd get from a publisher. You haven't got some external person saying, this is good and it should be in the shops. You've just got your own internal dialogue and some of your friends or whatever, if you get them involved, telling you that it's worth someone else reading it. So imposter syndrome, I think, is probably a really easy thing for a self-published person or an independent songwriter to be afflicted by, right? And I don't like it because I am proud of what I've done, and I don't like the fact that I feel really stunted and I feel like I can't carry on. I've got ideas and I've got short stories on the go and I haven't finished them, and I know it's because of that. I've got a very clear idea about what I want the sequel to that book to be about, and I've paid for the cover already. I have the book cover paid for, but I haven't started it because I've managed to convince myself that I'm fooling myself. So I don't like that. And I want to do something proactively. I don't even know if I'm going to get to the AI thing because I'm on this thread now. I want to do something proactively to deal with that, to sort that out. And I figured that there is this thing out there that I could possibly experience. And if it goes well, this is the risk. If it goes well, then, or well enough, then I could not feel that imposter syndrome, and I'd feel that kind of support, and I could feel like, yeah, this is fine. This is worth doing. Don't fool yourself. Don't have this negative conversation in your brain. This is worth doing. That's what the positive outcome of this plan would be. The negative plan, if it doesn't work, would be that it reinforces the imposter syndrome. So it's a risk. And basically, what I'm talking about is Patreon. So I haven't really. I think I might have hinted that I was thinking on those lines. I think I did a community post, like a questionnaire kind of thing, right? What would you prefer, video, YouTube membership or Patreon, or what is the best? And people were commenting, give me some ideas, and I could go with either one. I don't really think I couldn't figure out a preference. The only thing I was thinking, which is kind of why I went with Amazon for these books, was the bigger platform. People understand what Patreon is, and you wouldn't have to explain to people what YouTube membership was. Patreon's a little bit more well known. So I don't want the Patreon activity to interfere with what I do on my channel. So my YouTube channel, this thing, Book, Songs and Other Magic, will stay exactly the same, right? So that's a given. So all the things you would expect to see on the channel will still be on the channel, and I'll still be putting a lot out on the channel. But as well as that, I'm creating my own social contract for the Patreon thing, where I would agree to do things that would hopefully more than justify what I think is a very small amount that I'm putting as the amount to join the Patreon, right? So I'm going to put it at £3, right? I think it's if it's a dollars thing, then I have to work that out. Might be $4, I don't know. But that kind of thing, kind of £3 kind of cost. So very little, because again, I don't really want to know if someone can afford to support me, but I just want to know if someone wants to support me. So if I have it as a low cost, I might not be making lots of money, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to encourage me to write, okay? Because this is going to be writer-based. This is a writer-based Patreon. So the booktube material, I don't really go on about the writing that much. Occasionally, I've cheekily mentioned one of my books, showed it on the screen, but I haven't really said that much about it. But I'll be doing that in the Patreon. So for this fee of £3 a month, there are several things you would get from it, and I'm going to talk about them now. So one thing you'll get is a weekly poem, or poems if I've written more than one, but I will definitely write at least one. I'm hoping to write a couple a week, but I'm not going to promise that, but I will promise one a week at least. So you will get a weekly poem, and I will film reading it and send that to the Patreons. So they will get at least one poem a week, which will be brand new, and they will be collected up into another collection. And it will be probably, I don't know, but in my head, I'm thinking it makes sense to me for that to be different from the other two books. So this was a very personal collection. This was me trying to objectively create a city, and what I would probably do now is doing something more contemporary. So I'll be writing poems about what I'm seeing about, less personal things, probably. I don't know. I might end up just getting really personal with it. I'm not sure. Weekly poem is definitely one of the things. The second thing you'll get is regular readings from already published works. So once a month, I will read something from either the short stories or the books, the novels, and it could be something new, but it will definitely be a monthly reading of one of those. I'll also send videos of performances of my own songs. So half-hour set every 2 weeks. So I feel like I've got a lot more material I can draw from for that, and I would make the videos just for the Patreon. So I won't be doing a video, putting it up on some area of YouTube that no one can, that the patrons can't see, and then I'll send it to patrons. It will be just for them. So I'll do a special half-an-hour set every 2 weeks. Probably just me, but I might be doing it. If my son comes down, I might say, let's do a quick one together. Or if Richie comes around, I don't know. If I get them involved, then obviously that becomes more difficult because they're helping me earn money. I know Louis wouldn't mind, but it gets more difficult if I got half the band doing it. But definitely you will get that from me anyway. You'll also get updates and insights into my writing. So there are a few things I'm trying to write. There's these short stories that are bubbling around. I want to write the sequel to the Brown Yelp Gang, and again, if I feel that encouragement, I'll probably do that. And also, I'm in the middle of writing a book about the band. So I'll send you updates and insights into that. So that'll be another separate video. Also, a chance to influence the poetry that I'm writing. So I would ask for suggestions and thoughts. During, like, I'll have like a way of you sending me ideas if you want me to write something. Then that would be a thing. I thought that might be nice as well. And then also, the sixth thing I've written, updates on the book that I'm writing about Bemis. I've started it. I've written, I think I've written an introduction and a few hundred words of the first part of it. So I'm early days, but I think it'll be an interesting book because we've been going for 20 years. So it's 20 years of material that I can write about. And it's very, being in a band is a very peculiar thing. And they become family, and then they leave, and then they come back, and then you'll also get a free copy of the poetry book that comes from these poems that I'm writing. So you'll get that sent to you anyway when it gets published. You get your free copy of that. That's just for the Patreons. Also, I will send you a free digital copy of the solo album Replay, which I mentioned earlier. But if you become a Patreon, you would get that as well. I'll send you a digital copy of that. And if I release anything else, like the short story collection or the Brown Yelp Gang Going to Pieces, or the book about Bemis, you'll get a free copy of that too. So as long as this Patreon thing is going, if I release something, you'll get a free copy of it as well. That's my plan. So it's a very writer-based thing, and it's based around not getting money as much as feeling that encouragement and feeling like it's running alongside this crazy thing where I've defined myself as a writer over the years. And obviously writing prose and poetry, not so much poetry, but writing prose for definite, short stories and novels is new, relatively new. 8 years ago, wow, that doesn't seem so new when you say that. 8 years. 8 years ago, I wrote 10 Tales of Transformation, or published it. And I am proud of it. I think they're good stories. I think they're some of them are real fun stories, and some of it is darker and gives you a different experience. But I am proud of it, and I feel like this plan, this Patreon project, I don't even know what to call it. The Patreon thing, I think that could produce another book like that, which would be great, because I do feel like I need to feel that buzz again. So hopefully that makes sense. I've still got 7 people watching, hopefully, I think. So what do you guys think? Do you think that's a reasonable set of rewards for this crowdfunding thing they call Patreon? Or do you think it should be incorporating things I do on my channel already? Because I'm avoiding that. So what are your thoughts? Do you feel like I'm giving something that people wouldn't necessarily want because it's not on my channel? Or is it, yeah, keep it separate, good idea? Don't know. Is there any thoughts from people watching it at the moment? I'd like to know. I appreciate you watching. And now I've said it out loud, I've got to do this thing now, haven't I? What I'll do is, thank you, Angie. Angie says it's a good idea. That's all I need. One person. Thank you. Julie says it's a good plan. Look forward to hearing about Patreon memberships here in the US. Thanks, Julie. Yeah, I don't know how different they are. I think it's quite a international thing. I don't know if there's much differences between us and the US anyway. I mean, there might be some differences in Russia or Latvia or Macedonia or something. I don't know, Egypt. I don't know. But I think US and UK often have the same attitude to these things. So yeah, there's probably a lot of crossover. But I'll start this pretty soon after this announcement. So yeah, shipping. Oh, hold on. Shipping costs. Well, the shipping cost to the US is quite a lot, but I can ship it from Amazon. If I release my books on Amazon, I'll ship it through them. So I don't think I don't think I'll be paying for the cost of postage. But yeah, shipping a book from here to the US is massively expensive. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't think I'll have that problem if I keep using Amazon. And I think whatever I use, if I use some kind of self-publishing publisher, I think I would end up using the same kind of principle, that it's to send it from their website rather than sending it from here. So because what I'd like to do is get money together to reformat some of these books, and try Ingram Spark, which I think apparently is the self-publishing platform that means you can be in shops. So that'd be really cool. I'd love to see my books in shops. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. So Tim says, sounds like a great idea. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you, Tim. I really appreciate that. And Julie says she's in as well, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I'm going to need to be philosophical about this. I need to, if I get a few people, that's enough. I should feel really grateful and go crack on. Let's do it. It shouldn't be about quantity. It should be about the relationship, right? And we'll end up getting to know each other quite well, because I expect, I don't know, well, what I can gather from other people who've got patrons, they end up getting to know the patrons quite well, I think. I don't know. But we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, that's my plan. And I appreciate you guys, Tim and Julie, saying, yeah, let's do it. That's great. And yeah, if I do a separate video announcement as well, I've got video scheduled out like mad. I'll have to squeeze it in, but in a way that matters so people notice it. So it'll have to be a few days gap, because that's another thing I realized, that on BookTube, if you just keep shoving videos out there, people don't watch them. So you need to let it breathe for a bit. So anyway, if I do an announcement sort of middle of the month, and then I will treat anyone that signs up for it in the same way that they've, so it's the beginning of the month. So for this performance of my own songs, half-hour sets every 2 weeks, I'll do an hour set for the first month, because it's in the middle of the month. So an hour set to justify the £3. And a weekly poem, I'll come up with 4 poems that are new by the end of that month. So, I want to respect the intention behind supporting the Patreon. So yeah, there we go. Thank you for the people that have been watching and said it's a good idea, and people that are up for doing it. I'm hoping that the £3 means that it's not about how much money you got, it's just about whether you want to do it. Because I think some people have different tiers. They go, oh, if you give me £5, give me this. If you give me £10, give me this. And I don't want to get involved in that, because people would love to support you, but they can't. They physically can't. And that's really the opposite situation that I'd want to actually deter people from supporting. That'd be mad. So that's what I wanted to say. I was going to talk about AI. I'll quickly say that AI is a problem in the industry at the moment, in the creative industries in general. And certainly for music, I realized with music, I don't think it's going to affect the kind of like passionate songwriter or passionate band situation, because I think they're going to end up getting their music through the same kind of channels. There's still an audience out there that will want them. I think AI will massively affect manufactured music. So bands and artists that have their songs written by committee, that have loads of producers behind them, have people taking care of their image, those are the artists that will be affected by AI massively, because those people could be replaced by AI artists and literally hologrammed performances and those kind of things. But I don't think people who want to follow an actual band that play live music will actually give a toss about an AI hologrammed performance. So I think the people that aren't as into music and just love the sort of popular side of it, they love the energy behind it and the hooks in the songs, those songs will be replaced by AI probably. But I don't think we're going to lose the chance of having a David Bowie around, or a Kate Bush, or a Frank Zappa, or a Prince. You know, those people are still going to be around, because great musicians inspire people. Great musicians make people's day. They make someone want to listen to their music. They make the world a better place. They won't go away, because people, you know, people who I teach that are in their teens, you can see how much they love music. If they're great musicians, you know they're going to carry on playing those instruments for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. That won't go away because AI is around. But AI will definitely have, there's already a big hit single in America from an AI artist that's fully 100% AI. That will carry on happening. But that will be the equivalent of all these other bands that have a team behind them. So it's very easy to think that AI is going to destroy everything. But I came into this epiphany when I was watching some people doing their assignments, and they were talking about AI, and I just thought, yeah, it's only going to affect manufactured popular music. And that was quite a reassuring thing to suddenly think. And this is an opinion. It's not a fact. We don't know what's going to happen. And now I can understand why someone might say, no, we're screwed. But I do think people will always want great musicianship, great songs, interesting albums, interesting artwork, you know. And I think AI can't do that. They can't produce. And someone was saying that AI would just, because it comes from the internet's history, it ends up repeating itself anyway. And that's the thing. That'll get noticed pretty soon. And it can't come up with original ideas. And there will always be some avenue of original music that will squeeze through. Because even though it feels like there's nothing new coming out, there is always something new coming out. And there's a new spin on something old that AI wouldn't do, because it would do the old spin of the old stuff, not the new spin. So that's the other thing I was going to say. I think AI has got its limits as to how much it's going to take over and destroy the world. Spotify is a bigger problem, but that can't last either, because the industry needs money poured into it, and Spotify is stopping that happening, or it's certainly putting a big barrier to that happening. So I think that will change as well, but I don't know when it's going to change, but it will change. So there we are. So I'm going to become a crowdfunder. We'll see how that works. Patreon is now go. It's not literally now go. I've got to set it up. I started setting it up, and then I thought I'd do this before I finished setting it up. And like I said, I appreciate the encouragement. I think I'm going to leave it there, guys. But thank you so much for watching, and please spread the word. And you know, I've actually got a Buy Me a Coffee page, which I've always put it in the description underneath, but I don't get a lot of money through the Buy Me a Coffee page. So, you know, these things don't always work, but I'm doing it, I think, for the right reasons, to try and encourage the writing. So Tim says, good night. Thanks, Tim. And thanks, everybody. And I'll speak to you soon. There's a video coming up tomorrow, I think, which is my 3 out of 5 book challenge. Have a look at that when you get a chance. Thanks, everyone. Stay curious, everybody.